What is up, Baggies fans, football fans, and sports fans, and welcome to the latest video on the channel. And today it is a match day preview of Friday night's draw against Derby at Pride Park. And honestly, I've come away from it with a bit of a mixed emotions. But before we get into it, let's set the like target to 20 likes on this video. Leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on the game. Obviously, who do you want to see play against Portsmouth? And really, what else you want to see coming on this channel. So, if you've got any thoughts on stuff you want to see on this channel, especially as we're getting closer towards, the off season now as well. So I want to keep videos rolling during that period and keep you guys, in the loop. And so you've got a little bit of something going on during that time. But yeah, it's one of those games that, it's frustrating. Not because it was a great performance, but because the first time in a while, it actually felt like we might be building something, even if it's fragile, even if it's early days. The game in the first half gave me a little bit of hope. The second half reminded me exactly why we are where we are. And the ending, well, that was chaos, controversy, and a little bit of luck that we've been crying out for. Let's start with that first half, because I genuinely think it deserves credit. For the opening 45 minutes, we actually looked organised. We held our shape properly. We looked compact both in and out of possession. And for once, it didn't feel like teams were walking through us. Off the ball, the distances between the defence and midfield were better. We weren't getting dragged all over the place. And when Derby had the ball, they had to work for it. On the ball, we weren't spectacular, but we were calmer. And there was an idea of structure there and an idea of how we wanted to move the ball rather than panic passing it forward. Now, I want to give a really shout out to two particular players. Campbell at centre back looked incredible. Back in his natural position, he really, really did well in that position and, kept their striker quite under wraps. So I'm quite happy with that. And I really do enjoy seeing him in centre back. And I think he's going to be so strong for Ramsey in that back three. And then another person in midfield, Diakite. Obviously, the tragedy that's just happened with his brother, to come back a couple of days, couple of weeks after that, and to put a performance in midfield like that. Now, I know we don't look, too aggressive in midfield. When you're playing Malumbi and Diakite, he almost drops very defensively. But I'd like to see Diakite and Price as your midfield too. I think those two together would work really, really well. You've got your defensive sweeper of Diakite and then your Price, who can link attack to defence and is almost all over the place a little bit. I don't think he's utilised at right wing back properly, and I think we're lacking something in midfield that he could bring. So I believe it's Alex Williams that we saw against Derby in the cup. He comes back in fit, and I do think he'll play that right wing back role really well. Obviously, Gilchrist can play centre back, and that's his natural position. So maybe we look at bringing him in as well. But no, I think really we looked quite well and compact. And that first half performance is what I want to see more going forward, because it felt like a little bit of a foundation for us. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't dominant, it was controlled, and it was like a building block for us. And right now, control is something we're desperate for. You could see the players almost trusting the shape, trusting the man next to them, and that's something we haven't been able to say often this season. If the first half is a sign of what we're trying to build under the new setup, then fair enough. I'll take it as a step in the right direction. I'm not the biggest fan of three back formations. I think it does leave you too open against some teams. But on Friday night, I have to hold my hands up. And for that first half, we looked really, really good in that position. But then just as we're starting to feel a little bit comfortable, disaster strikes on the stroke of half time. And this is where we fear a lot of fans, that would come true. The goal we conceded is exactly the type of moments that plants doubts. A simple cross into the box, nothing outrageous, nothing unstoppable. Our new goalkeeper, Max O'Leary, drops it. Something the Bristol City fans have been shouting at us on Twitter, saying he's a good shot stopper, but he'll drop the ball. And what does he go and do? He drops the ball straight in front of their striker. And to be fair to the striker, he still has quite a bit to do to get it through 3 or 4 bodies, and it just somehow finds its way into the back of the net. In those moments you have to deal with. It's a basic action. And when you don't execute it, you get punished. And it's a bit of a worrying sign, because we've got 3 keepers that all look like they've got a mistake in them. Now, I don't want to pen too much on Josh Griffiths, because I do think when he dropped by Mason, he lost a lot of his confidence. But, it doesn't instill any form of confidence in that back line if you've got keepers making basic mistakes. So let's hope that, it was just a blur of a moment and not something we're going to see regularly, like the Bristol City fans have said. Now, as I said, I don't want to turn this onto a pylon, because goalkeepers make mistakes, and we've seen plenty of keepers before make mistakes. But you can't ignore the timing of it. Conceding right before half time completely changes the momentum of the game. Instead of going in level, feeling solid, encouraged, suddenly you're chasing the game, and that affects everything. Confidence, decision making, body language. And you could tell that the goal kind of knocked the wind out of us, and you could feel it in the ground as well. Second half, honestly, was so poor. I had more time laughing and joking with chat than actually watching the game. There was no right to real dress it up. We came out looking flat. We didn't look at it. And long spells, it just felt like we were huffing and puffing without any real idea how to hurt Derby. The tempo dropped, the movement dried up, and we became predictable. Now, that's not saying we didn't have a good couple of chances, because we did. Price had a chance in that second half, and if he'd have just taken a touch and then shot, but he just tried to lever it and it flew out. It was more like a freaking field goal. And it was just, again, it felt predictable and back into that sideways passing, a lot of hopeful balls and not enough conviction. And Derby didn't even have to be brilliant. They just had to stay organised and wait for us to make mistakes. And then obviously some subs were made. DK come on, didn't really offer much, if we're being honest. I'm not writing him off. Obviously, it's the first real probably game he's had back. Obviously, come on we started against Swansea, but again, he's just getting minutes in his tank. Is he going to be here come the end of the transfer window? I don't know. Are we going to try and shift him on to get a bit of money? Possibly not. He does need minutes, and he needs that rhythm that just doesn't magically appear. What I would like to see, though, is him paired with Hegibo up top. I think two big powerhouse strikers. I think it's something there to work on. It gives you that physical presence, the two of them working off of each other. And together they might actually complement each other instead of, one being isolated. And I do think that's the problem with leaving a lone striker up front. You feel isolated in games. You pump the ball up to the big man and he's got to try and do it all on his own. And that's where I feel for, Hegibo a little bit, because he's trying to do everything on his own up front. But for Maja, for me, he still doesn't look fit. He looks off of it. He looks a half a yard slow. He's not influencing the games the way we need him to. Don't get me wrong, the ball sticks to him. He's got a fantastic touch. But he don't look interested. I don't know if it's confidence, fitness, or just a bad run. I don't know what it is. But right now, he's not offering enough. And again, with the transfer window looming, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets moved on, because we get a bit of money for him. In games like this, when you're struggling for creativity, you need your forwards to at least make things uncomfortable. And that wasn't happening. I mean, the chance obviously led up to the goal off the corner. Did he miss that? How has he missed that? And the fact that it wasn't a corner and that Madger actually missed it was dreadful in itself. But then, deep into added time, you're thinking another loss, 11 straight away. And, it was something that you could feel that we've been on the end of it for a long, long time, this season, conceding goals late on. 85th plus minute, we conceded over 20% of our goals. And it was absolute scenes. Late on, we score. Chris Mepham, suddenly we're level. And let's be honest, we rolled our luck massively with it. It wasn't a corner. Magic kicked it straight out of play. I don't care how you spin it, the ball didn't come off their player. There's an argument, obviously, goal line technology come in and saved us in that one, because the ref didn't give it. He had to look to his watch. And possibly a foul in the build-up before the ball even went out for a corner. But football doesn't work like that. Decisions even themselves out over a season. And lately, we've been absolutely had with decisions. Nothing going our way. The red card at Hull, Portsmouth back in early season, when we should have had a penalty and one of their players sent off. We even had literally no luck go away so far this season. So when we finally get one, I'm not apologising for it. We deserved a slice of luck. If that's what it takes to stop that rot, then so be it. The goal didn't just get us a point, it stopped a horrendous run of 10 away defeats on the bounce. That matters. Mentally, it matters more than people realise. Losing becomes a habit, and breaking that habit, even with a scrappy, controversial draw, could be massive for us. The final whistle goes, and it's one of those games you're relieved rather than happy. We didn't deserve to win, but we didn't deserve to lose either. That first half showed us a bit of promise. The second half showed how far we still have to go. And the ending showed maybe, just maybe, the football gods are giving us a tiny bit of breathing room. Now, attention turns to Portsmouth on Saturday, and that's where another real test comes. Was that first half glimpse of progress, or was it just a one-off? Do we build on that structure, that discipline, the shape, or do we slip back into old habits? Because if we can replicate that first half performance consistently, then there's something to work on. If we can't, we're stuck in the same cycle, and I do believe it'll be relegation for us. Look, Oxford won and beat Leicester, which nobody saw coming. Pompey were great against Southampton and managed to get a point against them. And, if they sort of show that sort of fight against us, I'm a little bit worried. In the end, though, I'm not getting carried away, but I'm not writing us off either. A point away from home against a ground that we're, historically awful at. run finally ended, a reminder that football can swing you away when you least expect it. Saturday will tell us a lot more. Obviously, Ramsey's got 8 days now to work with the players on the training ground. Hope we bring some more players in as well because we so need it. So any sniff of transfer news, I'll be doing a video on it. Obviously, when we announce a new player, I'll do a video on that as well. But as always, Baggies fans, thank you very much for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all of it. Derby fans, let me know your thoughts on the game on Friday night as well. So I'd love reading from an opposition view. And as always, up the Albion. Bye bye.